Welcome, brave souls and daring dreamers. Tonight, we journey down the darkened roads less traveled, where the only companions are shadows and whispers. We've got 4 chilling tales of hitchhikers that will make you think twice before offering or accepting that next ride. So buckle up, lean your seat back and prepare yourself, and because these stories aren't for the faint-hearted. Ready? Let's delve into the gripping world of eerie hitchhiker horror tales.
Story 1. The Unexpected Call, a Hitchhiker's Regret. Nikki, a dear family acquaintance, often recounted this spine-chilling tale from her younger years during the early 80s. The story, always told with an unsettling tremble in her voice, was meant as sage advice for us youngsters, a cautionary tale that has imprinted itself indelibly on my memory. It's a story that brings a sour taste to my mouth and sends shivers down my spine every time I recall it. In those days, Nikki was a vibrant woman in her mid-20s, her heart full of compassion and kindness. She was the kind of person who couldn't ignore someone in need. Driving from our small town to the sprawling city, a journey of approximately 2 hours, she encountered a solitary figure trudging along the side of the road. As she approached, the man turned towards her, extending his arm in the universal sign of the hitchhiker. Obliging, Nikki pulled over, her heart pounding with a mix of trepidation and compassion. The man, shy yet polite, requested a lift to the city. With a warm smile, Nikki unlocked the passenger door, allowing him to stow his bag in the back seat before they embarked on their journey. During the drive, they engaged in light-hearted banter about friends, current events, and life itself. They even shared a meal at a roadside diner where Nikki noticed his awkwardness when she insisted on paying. He revealed his financial struggles, which had led him to hitchhike. Reluctantly, he accepted her generosity, and they resumed their journey. Upon reaching the city, he thanked Nikki profusely for her kindness and asked to be dropped downtown. Before parting, he requested her phone number, promising to stay in touch. Elated by the prospect of hearing from her new friend, Nikki obliged, driving off with a sense of accomplishment at her good deed. The eeriness of the story lies not in some gruesome event, but in the chilling normality of it all. The truly petrifying part came a week later when Nikki received an unexpected call from the hitchhiker. He spoke in a hurried, frantic tone, barely allowing her to respond after her initial greeting. He confessed to harboring sinister intentions when he first entered her car, to violate her, end her life at the pit stop, steal her car, and dispose of her lifeless body in a ditch. But her kindness, her genuine concern, and the shared meal had changed his mind. He implored Nikki never to pick up another hitchhiker before abruptly ending the call. Nikki tried to return the call, only to discover the number was for a payphone. She never heard from him again. His haunting words served as a grim reminder of the dangers lurking beneath seemingly innocuous encounters. And so, I have heeded his ominous advice, vowing never to pick up a hitchhiker, and thus hopefully never meet such a man myself. Story 2, Arizona's Most Wanted, a Hitchhiker's Chilling Encounter. This tale of terror is not my own, but one that haunts my father's past. It was during his youthful days of wanderlust and adventure that he found himself journeying through the desolate landscapes of Arizona, bound for Mexico. The day, hot and oppressive, was punctuated by the sight of a lone figure hitchhiking at the roadside. My father, a man of inherent trust and goodwill, pulled his dust-covered car over. An era of innocence permeated the 70s and 80s, and offering a ride to a stranger was not an uncommon gesture. The man, with sunken eyes and weathered skin, responded with a raspy voice, "Just the next town over." As they ventured deeper into the arid expanses of the desert, the two men began to exchange words. When asked for his name, the stranger replied with a single word, "Derp." My father, taken aback by the uncanny coincidence, responded with surprise, "Holy crap, that's my name." The conversation continued, brief yet oddly intimate, until they reached the next town. There, my father dropped off the hitchhiker and resumed his journey to Mexico. Upon reaching the border, a stern official flagged him down. His eyes, hidden behind large aviator glasses, scrutinized my father's license with an unsettling intensity. He then instructed my father to pull over, leading him to a small, sterile room while they searched his vehicle. He spent hours in that claustrophobic space, the walls lined with rows of confiscated tequila bottles glinting ominously under the fluorescent lights. Eventually, the officer returned, an apology on his lips for the prolonged wait. When my father inquired about the reason for this unexpected delay, the officer's reply sent a chill down his spine. "There's a warrant out for the arrest of a man named Derp." Dumbfounded, my father asked, "What for?" The officer's response echoed in the room like a death knell: "Murder." The realization hit my father like a ton of bricks. The man he had shared his car and name with was a wanted killer. The fear clenched his gut, and he felt as if he was teetering on the edge of his sanity. Story 3, Austrian Highways, A Journey into Fear. First and foremost, forgive any linguistic inaccuracies. As a non-native speaker, English is not my mother tongue. I will endeavor to articulate this chilling tale as best I can. This horrifying incident occurred 2 years ago. I was in the midst of a backpacking journey across Austria. 2 weeks had passed, and fatigue had worn me down. The day was blisteringly hot. My feet were riddled with blisters, and I was on the brink of surrender. Stranded in an isolated stretch of countryside, I decided to hitch a ride to the nearest railway station. My luck, however, seemed to have abandoned me. Hours ticked away, but no vehicles stopped for me. I couldn't blame them. My disheveled appearance after 2 weeks of forest dwelling was far from inviting. When a truck finally pulled over, relief washed over me. Grateful for the opportunity to rest my aching feet, I quickly clambered aboard. The driver, a burly man with a seemingly friendly demeanor, assured me he could drop me off in Vienna, his destination. He mentioned making a pit stop to load his truck, which I had no objections to. Our journey began pleasantly enough, filled with idle chatter. He seemed polite, almost charming. However, the atmosphere shifted when we reached our first stop. While he loaded his truck, I purchased water from a nearby gas station. He had offered me drinks throughout the journey, but I had politely declined each time. Once back inside the truck, he suggested I undress, due to the sweltering heat. His repeated insistence made me uncomfortable, as did his offer for me to nap in the back of the truck. His behavior planted a seed of anxiety within me, and I decided to disembark at the next possible stop. Suddenly, he shouted at me to duck, explaining that his stepfather's car was passing by, and he didn't want to be seen with me. This bizarre encounter cemented my decision to escape at the earliest opportunity. He then mentioned recognizing me, insisting he had seen me at a swingers club. He invited me to accompany him to a similar establishment in Vienna. Taken aback by his audacious suggestion, I reiterated my desire to disembark immediately. Ignoring my plea, he proceeded to masturbate, leaving me frozen in shock and fear. As we approached another gas station, he suggested we shower together. Desperate to escape, I agreed, hoping the presence of other people would deter him. As soon as the truck halted, I seized my chance, flinging the door open and sprinting across the gas station's parking lot. He made no attempt to follow. I continued running until the gas station was a distant speck, finally reaching a bustling street. The encounter left a lingering sense of dread that haunts me to this day. Story 4: Road to Nowhere, The Hitchhiker's Escape. This tale is a chilling relic from my father's past, a grim testament to his days as a young hitchhiker. The late 60s and early 70s was a period of wild abandon, a time when he, a mere adolescent aged 13 to 16, embarked on an audacious expedition through the haunting wilderness of northeast Quebec. His parents, trapped in their own world of indifference, paid little heed to his wanderlust. His journey took a sinister turn when he was offered a ride by a motley crew of Americans heading in the same direction. Their identities were shrouded in ambiguity. Were they draft dodgers or war-torn veterans? Regardless, their erratic behavior and hollow stares hinted at a sanity long lost. Instead of alerting them to his discomfort, my father decided to bide his time and part ways at the earliest opportunity. On the first night, their journey led them to a desolate RV campground, ensnared by the eerie silence of the wilderness. As they set up camp under the spectral glow of the moon, an unsettling presence approached. A park ranger, his uniform crisp against the backdrop of the dark night, began to berate them over unpaid fees. The confrontation ended with the ranger's retreat, but it left a bitter taste among the group. Their discontent brewed into something far more sinister. As the fire crackled and shadows danced around them, they hatched a horrifying plan. Rifles, smuggled across the border, became instruments of death. They decided it would be easier to silence the ranger permanently than to endure his harassment. My father, a man of stoic calmness, felt a cold dread seep into his veins. Realizing he was ensnared in a web of potential murder, a single thought echoed in his mind. What have I gotten myself into? When the ranger reappeared, my father sprang into action. He intercepted the man, his heart pounding like a war drum in his chest. The details of their conversation were hazy. Did he bribe the ranger or warn him? Regardless, the ranger departed, never to return. However, the most bone-chilling aspect of this tale was yet to come. My father, instead of fleeing from the impending nightmare, stayed with these unhinged men for a few more days. His continued presence likely saved the ranger's life, and perhaps his own, from an unthinkable fate. This harrowing encounter remains a chilling reminder of the lurking dangers on the road less traveled.